Thanks for tuning in to Conversations with Betty LaMarr, coming to you live from the Bluff City. Conversations is weekly wall-to-wall talk about all things Memphis and the Mid-South. Conversations with Betty include people just like you, living on the Bluff, doing what you do to uplift the city of Memphis. And now, your host, Betty LaMarr.
All right, thank you so much, you guys, for joining in and watching Betty LaMarr and LaCresha Chism. I am LaCresha Chism, and we are going to jump into Conversations 901 today. I'm going to turn it over to Miss Betty to start out because there are some questions that people want to know about me, and Miss Betty has quite a few to ask me, so we're going to turn it over to Miss Betty and let her take it from here.
Okay, that's good. Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. This is 901 Conversations. Some people say Conversations 901, but the podcast and the TV show. Again, you can tune in on Xfinity Monday night, 7 o'clock p.m. on Channel 17. Now, Lucretia has graciously accepted my invitation to co-host the podcast with me, and I admire her so much as a businesswoman. I told her actually that I was in and out of her business because I was, as they say, I was studying her because I was looking for a co-host, and I needed somebody that I felt like would flow with me, Betty LaMarr. And that's not just everybody. Not that people are not good enough, but you want somebody that you feel very, very comfortable with, and that's LaCresha Chism. So one day I got the nerves to ask her, would you be interested in doing a podcast with me? And she was like, yes. So that's how it got started. So now I'm just interested in going back in her life as she did on a previous show with me to find out how she got to where she is now, the girl boss, as we say. She's definitely a girl boss. Well, welcome to Conversations 901 Conversations, Lucretia.
Thank you, Miss Betty.
Okay, now take me back to the beginning. Where were you born? And just take me through that journey that got you where you are today.
Wow, it has been an amazing journey.
Okay.
It hasn't all been easy. When people see me, they see this bubbly, happy person, and to the core I am.
Yes.
But it hasn't always been that. And I think that's any person's journey.
Yes.
Because we live life. But starting out, I grew up in this small town in Tipton County.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's similar to your story, but my grandparents owned their own land.
Okay.
Owned their own house, and that's a conversation that I could have and talk about for a while because my grandfather lived with his grandparents, and that's how he inherited the house and the land that I was fortunate to grow up on. Okay. That I actually own now, that I inherited.
Wow.
So yes, it has, I'm a lucky girl. I was fortunate to have my grandparents in my life. My mom, she was a teen mom. She had me young. So I lived predominantly at my grandparents' house, probably up until I was about 4 or 5. And that's how good my grandparents were. They helped take care of me so that my mom wouldn't have to go without living her life as well.
Yes.
And my mom, I have to give her all the credit, for just being an amazing mom, teaching me to be a hard worker, dreaming, just believing in yourself, and just knowing that you can go out here in the world and do anything.
Yes.
My grandmother, she worked, which was unusual for women back then. Most women were just, took care of home, but
yes,
she did it all. She took care of home. She worked. She helped raise us. And so I think that's where I started to begin to know and learn myself. Because like you said, there's no laziness. You don't lay around the house. You know, everyone is assigned a job to do.
Yes.
And my job,
it's called chores.
It's absolutely. And my job was to help out in the home.
Okay.
Growing up, I would iron my grandfather's clothes and set his plate out on the table, help my grandmother cook, and that's when I really started to begin cooking.
Yeah, okay.
So I do own a restaurant now with my husband, so that's where one of my passions, that's one of my passions. I love to cook. I love to bake. That's like
I know, I have a brownie in the kitchen now.
Yes.
That I can't wait to devour later.
Look, my husband calls me the sugar pusher, but but I absolutely, that is my passion. But deep down, I'm very outgoing. I tend to be shy, but once you peel that layer back off of me, you can't get me to shut up. I will talk to you like nonstop, and I just love being around wonderful people. And I can say that I get that with my family. We're very close knit. I'm very thankful for that. My mom has played a major factor in that. Just seeing her tend to her family.
Okay.
She is kind of the go-to person, and I've kind of turned into that go-to person now, which is very humbling, because I do take pride in my family. I love them very dearly.
Okay, now I want to jump in because I definitely want to make sure we get this in, because you just mentioned that you are a businesswoman.
Yes.
And we're both I guess I would say we're beautiful, black, proud
Absolutely.
businesswomen. What, if any, have been some of the challenges? Because I mentioned a few in mine, just because of what the nature of my business. I had challenges with my business. So what some of the challenges that you would say you have had to endure to get? Because I think you're, 13, 14 years now in business?
Yes.
Let's talk about
years.
a little bit of that. How did you end up from Tipton County to Supreme Hot Wings?
Oh my gosh. Well, from Tipton County to Supreme Hot Wings, my family moved. We lived in Atoka, which is not too far from my grandparents, but my mom, she got married when I was probably about 5. My stepfather, I would have to say he's been amazing.
Okay.
Major part of my life. I didn't have my real father growing up, but I am blessed to know him. I am blessed to have a relationship with him. But he hasn't been physically in my life due to certain circumstances.
Okay.
But I did have my stepfather, and it's kind of similar to yours, where you have white people in your life.
Yeah.
My stepfather, he's white.
Okay.
So I had the opportunity of growing up seeing different cultures combined in a household. I think that
isn't that rewarding, though?
It's so.
I wish everybody could do that. Just know somebody that don't look like you.
And
you'll realize how much alike you are.
I'm so serious. Like it has been such an amazing journey to experience those things. Not saying I wouldn't have gotten that from my African American father, but just to have my stepfather come in and treat me as his own, and a little black girl, and instill these things into me, just teaching me so much. I mean, I can probably play almost any sport, it's so much, and just to be culturally combined with different races in my family, I think that's why I'm overall the person that I am today. I do think I have turned out to be an amazing woman. I'm very, very, very proud of it.
Me too.
I used to think that I wasn't lucky growing up because I didn't have my actual real father here physically. But as time went on, I really started to learn the woman that I was growing to be and the person that I wanted to be. I knew there was something in me. I've always wanted to be a boss. Like I would look on TV, I would see the news anchors, the journalists, and deep down to the core, I love to write. I'm a writer, and that's not something that a lot of people know about me, but I love to write, and that's one thing that really is on my bucket list is to be an author one day. But going back to the journey to being a businesswoman, I just always knew I never wanted a boss. My grandfather, he was a contractor for MLG&W for 50 years, which is rare for an individual living out in Tipton County to drive to Memphis every single day and go to work, and then come home and work on his farm because he had cows, pigs, a home to tend to, all of that. So it was a rare thing. So I'm very proudful in that, to just talk about my grandfather and him having those accomplishments. And I saw that work ethic and how hard he worked for his family. And when he was always seemed to be his own boss, even when he went out to be a contractor. You're appointing people to do this. You're putting them in positions to, okay, this is what you're going to do. And I was always like that. I have a younger brother. We're 9 years apart. So I had to step up and kind of be, that big sister role. It's just the two of us. So I would always just step up and be what I needed to be for him, because my mom, she worked a lot. She was a single mom for a while, so she did everything she had to do to make sure that my grandparents wasn't solely taking care of me. She wanted to make sure that I knew that she was in my life and she was taking care of me and providing for me. And so I thank her so much for that. And so when and just like you, I never felt like I needed to go to college. I felt like, hey, I can do this. I can go out here, work hard, get what I want, have a successful life, and I've growing up, I always knew I was going to be a successful woman, have everything I wanted, have a wonderful husband, have great children, and I just knew that. I felt like I knew that when I was 14, 15 years old. So
like the boys in the box for me, right?
Right, absolutely. I knew it. And living out in the country, you have a lot of time to just kind of reflect and think. And that's when I would write. I wrote a lot. I would write poems a lot, and it just became a part of me. And as I got older, I was like, you know what? I'm going to be an author one day. And so that just kind of got pushed to the back end when I met my husband.
And became a boss chick.
Became a boss. I was already a boss chick before, but he bossed me up even more. And so when I met him, he comes from a bloodline of business owners as well. And as you mentioned, Westwood, his family had successful businesses in Westwood.
Well, I know because we used to shop in their business.
Right.
We were just so proud to have a Black-owned business, especially of that magnitude.
Absolutely.
It was like, we can do this stuff, right?
Like, when I first met my husband, everyone was like, and then I would tell them their name, and they'll be like, Chism. And they'd be like, do they own Chism Trail? And
grocery stores.
I'm a little country girl. I don't know anything about Chism Trail or anything. I was like, I don't know. I just met him. And so, as we got to know each other, I started learning things about him, and, he would tell me, his family owned businesses, and his uncle, all his family was a part of the grocery store business. And I thought that was just kind of I was in awe about it, because first of all, you don't see black people, just around here opening up grocery stores and just
black people supporting black people
in the black community.
Yes, we supported each other then.
Oh my gosh, it was just like, wow, this is amazing. And to know there's so many of his family members that worked at the grocery store, and they were all involved in it. It was very touching. It's just like, wow, you're a family man like I am, this could work. And how I met my husband was through my grandmother. She worked right down the street, and I was a loan advisor at this place, and I wasn't happy there. And she was like, there's another loan place up here. You might want to go up there and see about, checking that out. I think it's kind of small, it's intimate, you should go up there and check it out. So I went up there, put my resume in, and I didn't hear back from her for like 2 months, and so I just kept going to work. And I was like, okay, I forgot all about it. And 2 months later, I get this phone call, and there's this man on the phone, and he's like, are you still interested in the position? I would like to interview you. I was like, okay, sure, I'll stop by. What's a good time? And by this time, I'm thinking like, I don't know if I want this job anymore. And
that was your husband?
That was my husband. So I'm sitting in the interview, and most bosses don't give you a backstory of themselves. And what I admired about him is that he gave me a backstory of himself.
I'm sure he did.
And, my husband's kind of like that guy where, I'm all about work, I'm about making this money,
Yes.
if it ain't talking money, I'm not really paying attention to it. So I don't think he even knew that I was like, he's kind of cute, okay, we kind of got like the same ideas. And I worked at J. Alexander's as a waitress and a bartender for a little while. So I was in the restaurant industry as well, and shift lead there. So I had kind of worked my way up there, and just kind of was like the top person at J. Alexander's, the only African American girl there. So that was very powerful as well. And I worked there and was a loan advisor. So it was just kind of like, okay. And then by that time, I found out as he's talking to me that he had just opened up his first restaurant.
Wow.
So it was like, okay, we're like on the same path. We, you're in the loan advising, everything. So I felt like I could learn a lot. I was like, okay. I was like, I want to own my own restaurant. I want to do this. I want to do that. So I was like, okay. And so we started out as friends, and we got to know each other, and it just kind of became a love story. We found that we had similar interests, and we were on the same page, and I think that was something that I really admired, and I needed it at that point in my life. I was in my 20s, and I wanted, just from society putting all this pressure on you to feel like you need to be married by a certain age, have kids by a certain age, be successful by a certain age, I call it tradition. Right, tradition.
Like me, I never got married, never had children, and I've never apologized for it.
Exactly.
Because I feel like we're all called for a different purpose.
Exactly.
It wouldn't work for me, because I promise you, I would have left home one day and never showed up again.
It's too much.
Too much.
And it is a lot. It is a lot.
But you juggle it well, girl.
Honestly, I'm able to juggle it because of that work ethic. Mm-hmm. And it's something that I always wanted. Like I said, I knew at a young age that I wanted to be successful. I wanted to have children. I wanted to have a husband. And I wanted to also be able to be me.
Yes.
Not lose me. And I think that's one thing that I've had the opportunity to be able to do so. And my husband, he helps a lot with that, you know, just giving me the time to be able to just be me and do the things that I want to do for our family. I homeschool our youngest one, and I've been doing that for 3 years now, and that's been one of the...
Still baking.
And still baking, still going to work, still taking care of home, still taking care of husband. You know, it's
still doing the podcast.
Still doing the podcast. You know, and you know, my mother-in-law, she always says, Lucretia, I don't know how you do all this, you know, and I always tell her I do what I want to do.
Right.
I make time to do.
You do what you love.
What I love.
And when you do what you love, it doesn't
feel like work.
Right.
You know, it doesn't feel like work. And I try to make sure that nothing feels like work, that I enjoy it. You know, sometimes it gets overwhelming, and you know, sometimes it feels like, oh my gosh, you know, it's just too much. But you know, and then, you know, I think to myself, well, these kids are only kids for a certain amount of time of their life. You know, there's only so much time to work in your life. You know, like, you're not going to do these things forever. You know, I truly feel like there are seasons and times in our life to do things.
I want to say something, because this is important too, and one thing I really admire about you. You birthed one daughter, right? But what I love about you is that you treat your husband's children from a previous marriage just like they're your own. If anybody didn't know, they would think that you never have called them step anything. And I have a friend, I told him he called this like my stepdaughter. I said, don't say that.
Right.
Because I got that from being around you. I said, don't say that. I said, because if she's your wife's child,
that's your child,
and she's in your life, even though she's an adult, I said, just say your daughter.
Right.
And she's your wife's child, and their dad is not. They're grown-ups.
Absolutely, I agree. And I think I get that from having a stepfather. And, you know, I acknowledge the fact in this segment that he's my stepdad, but I call him dad.
Yeah.
You know.
I know that.
Yeah, so I call him dad, and I said stepdad so that, you know, the viewers would know.
Because we was talking about race.
Right. They would know that I have a stepfather, but I call him dad.
Yes.
And he's truly my dad. He's taught me everything that a dad would.
Yes.
You know. And that's why I say I'm a lucky girl, because I have had the opportunity to have so much love from so many different people in my family. I mean, I have sets and sets of grandparents. You know, I have 3 sets of grandparents. I have, you know, multiple moms. You know, I have a mother-in-law. I have my mom. You know, it's all these women. I have aunts, you know, that help me. One of my aunts, she's just always there, you know, was there first day when my daughter was born. I never had to take her to daycare or anything. So I think it's just really good to have a great family base.
Yes.
It just allows you and help you to understand who you are. And I've just been so fortunate to have that. And there's still so many things that I want to do. I feel like I've done so much, but I just feel like there's so much more to do. You know, like it's just been it's been so rewarding.
When I was first, like I said, sort of, I guess, stalking you, so I could just sort of see, you know, if there's a flow there or not. Because if not, you never would have known.
Right.
Because back in the past, like I said, I had the drag queens were always my co-hosts, because they just had that flair.
The energy.
Yes. And they didn't mind being pretty, and they just, you know, they just brought it, right?
Right.
So, but the first problem I thought I had was what you just said earlier. I respect, because I came from family. So I respect. I said, you know, husband, and she's your little daughter over there doing her little homework and stuff, and you over there, and then you was dealing with customers, and you was like multitasking, and I was like, because I know family and I value family, I was like, I don't know if she'll have time in her life. I don't know if her husband, because I didn't know him like that.
Right.
Now I know he's cool. I said, always respectful, but I didn't know him, his wife. I said, I don't know if he'll let her take time away from, because remember, Betty LaMarr had a business, so I know what
Right.
he would tell. I said, I don't know if he's going to let her pull away from that to go play podcasts. And that's when I asked, I remember at first I was so concerned, what he think about it.
You really were.
Yeah, because that's family, that's something I'm not going to mess with.
But I tell you, I'm a girl boss.
Yeah.
Foremost, I never want to take away from who I am and what I want to do. I think if I'm happy, then I can provide happiness for everyone. I can't forget myself, and I'm very thankful that you asked me to be your co-host, because like I said, there's seasons for everything, and I wanted to branch out and do something else outside of the restaurant, outside of the business.
I used to say do it something just for LaCresha.
Right, that's exactly what you said, and I said I do need this for myself, because between getting up in the morning, baking, fixing breakfast, homeschooling, going to work, my day is pretty constricted. It's a tight schedule, but I love the fact of having something else to do just for Lucretia.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for that, Miss Betty. It's been a pleasure. I really enjoyed doing the podcast. And there's still so much to my story, just like you.
And we will revisit again. But before we go off the air, I want you to just tell the viewers your business, your locations, and because we did just mention Supreme, but let the viewers know what your business is, and if they want to patronize your business, how they can get it.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Miss Betty. Well, we do, my husband and I own Supreme Hot Wings. It's located, our original store is located at 1674 Wooden Road, Memphis, Tennessee, Suite 102. So please come by, stop by and see us. We also have a second location if you're anywhere in the Mississippi area or close to the airport area. It's Supreme Hot Wings as well, 8936 Airways Boulevard, South Haven, Mississippi. So you guys stop by, please come by and support us. We've been in business for 13 years plus now, which has been a major success for us through COVID and all.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much for supporting us. It has been an amazing journey. We take pride in giving you great food, great customer service. You guys will not be disappointed. Stop by, get some of my fresh baked cookies, banana pudding, any of that.
And gain some weight.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
But you will be happy when you leave.
And thank you so much, LaCresha Chism,
Miss
for being my special co-host. Again, as Lucretia said, thank you so much. I want to thank you all for 38 years of keeping me alive on Channel 17.
Her YouTube channel, Betty LaMarr Memphis.